Welcome back to the conversation on Morning Spring right here on Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei, and I still have with me architect Goke Omigbodun right here in the studios. And we'll be moving on to some issues. During the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, he was actually alleged, not alleged, but accused of nepotism. He was accused of flooding his cabinet with officials, people from the northern region. And over the past 8 years, he was in office. People from other regions, from the southeast, the southwest, the south-south, actually continued to lament and shout and put out there their displeasure and dissatisfaction of how President Muhammadu Buhari's administration went down when it comes to appointing of key officials in that administration, saying that it did not actually go down well with the federal character. There is a thing called the federal character where every region is well represented. But for the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you know, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said he was going to continue from where Buhari stopped, people thought it would be in economic policies. Some persons have said he has continued definitely from where Buhari stopped when it comes to nepotism. And for him, it's not just from a region, but from an ethnic. Because if we say from the southern region, it would mean that he has key appointments from the southeast, southwest, south-south, because Muhammad Buhari had key officials from the northeast, northwest, and north central. But people are saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has continued to make key appointments from the southwest, the Yoruba ethnic group, and this has raised concerns from different quarters. People have actually said that this is not the way to go, especially for someone who is touted as a big Democrat. Remember that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was part of the people that fought for democracy. He is a Nadeco man. We can call him a big Nadeco man. And people have also said that some of the Yoruba appointment by Tinubu to key positions, you can have the Inspector General of Police, Chief of Army Staff, the Director General of the Department of State Services, the Executive Chairman of EFCC, the Comptroller General of Nigerian Customs, the Comptroller General of Nigeria Immigration Service, the Commander of the Guards of Brigade, the Chief Security Officer to the President, and of course we also have the ministers, key ministers, and the President also sitting as a Minister of Petroleum, by the way, all from one ethnic group, and that's the Yoruba tribe. But the Afenifere, who actually they made a reaction saying that this is not the stance of Afenifere and this is not who we are. Afenifere is a group that is committed to federal character. We want one Nigeria, we want unity, and the Yorubas are not seen as one who would promote ethnic chauvinism. And that's why we actually have architect Goke Omigbodun here in the studios to speak to this issue. It's good that he is a member of Afenifere and will be able to speak to this issue. Do you think this key appointments made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is deliberate, or is just trying to see put round pegs in round holes? And these are people he knows their worth, he knows their track records, and that's why he has appointed them. It doesn't have to do with a deliberate or conscious decision to put Yorubas in key positions in the country.
Well, I may have to answer this question very carefully and take a route from what made the Afenifere under the leadership of Papa Adebanjo, Papa Ayo Adebanjo, to issue this statement. The statement, if you read it very well, it's a reaction to certain things that certain people said, and particularly what a columnist in the Vanguard, Ugoji Ebujo, wrote. And in writing it, he seemed to have posited, in relation to your question, that those appointments were not about competence and that they were just about ethnicity. And I also know that we have very brilliant, more brilliant Yorubas that could be in some of those offices than those that are there. So I may align with Ugoji Ebujo that it's not about competence. It's just about ethnicity. But I need to let you know that Afenifere, the socio-political organization. Look, for me, and I may be completely isolated in this, many people may not agree with me, even in Afenifere, I'm not yet sure, that we have two Afeniferes. There is the Afenifere, which is the socio-political organization.
Okay.
Mind my words, I didn't say factions. There are two completely Afeniferes. Their outlooks are different. The socio-political organization was started by Obafemi Awolowo and a few of his colleagues way back 1951. My father was one of them, Ladunjoye Omigbodun. And they all were about politics and about egalitarianism. In fact, the theme song, the anthem of Afenifere, has a stanza that says, egalitarianism is our national watchword. And there's another line that says, up, up, Nigeria. So it is not about Yoruba people alone. It is about good governance, it is about politics, and it is about egalitarianism, and it is about Nigeria. That is the Afenifere that was established by Obafemi Awolowo and a few other people, including my own father. So I was born into Afenifere. But there is this other Afenifere that has emerged that is socio-cultural. And they also dabble into politics and do all kinds of things. I don't want to discuss them. But so I just want to focus, please.
No, I want to, let me cut you there.
No, I want to focus on your question. Please, I just prepared a background.
I know, I just want to make an observation. You know,
yes.
There are some people that would argue that it was not Awolowo that founded Afenifere, that it was Bolaige.
No, Bolaige was just a young man then. Okay. I don't know. I will confirm if, in fact, was part of the foundation of Afenifere. I honestly am not sure. Okay. Bolaige was my mentor. Bolaige was somebody, Uncle Bola, we held in very high esteem. I cannot remember that part of his story, if he was, but he got entrenched in Afenifere very early too. So I will not be surprised if he was one of the foundation members. Okay. And he was obviously very, very impactful in all of his life as a member of Afenifere. So, and I dare say, if in spite of whatever differences would have been between Uncle Bola and Papa Ayo Adebanjo way back then, if Bolaige were to be alive today, Bolaige would align with Ayo Adebanjo because it is about ideology. Okay. It is about what is Afenifere all about. Afenifere is a socio-political organization, not socio-cultural. So those who claim to be socio-cultural is another Afenifere, and we leave them so to be. Even when they dabble into politics, that is it for them. But for the Afenifere, under the leadership of Pa
who are those under socio-cultural?
You have not even allowed me to answer the question you asked
I just want us to be clear on some issues.
Let me focus on the question that you called me here for because of time. And that is on this issue of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu now making all of his appointments within only one ethnic enclave. It is wrong. That is not egalitarianism. That is not up Nigeria that Afenifere is known for. And if this Afenifere would fight against that kind of positioning that Muhammadu Buhari did, even for Muhammadu Buhari, he did a lot for the Northwest more than the rest of Northern region. So forget it. And when you are talking about regions, let us also face reality. We actually had the Northern region, we had the Eastern region, and the Western region. That is the truth of the matter. And that is why even I don't, when Bola Ige was alive, he would never allow anybody to talk of the Southwest. He spoke of Western Nigeria. He was my mentor. I worked with him, so I understand the way he groomed us to understand that it was and it is still Western Nigeria. So you can say the way Muhammadu Buhari picked most of those sensitive positions from Northern Nigeria, now Bola Ahmed Tinubu is picking them from Western Nigeria. And we say it is still wrong because there should be equity. I also listened to Professor Udenta Identa, who incidentally was the National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy about 1999. He also said something about the fact that Ogun State alone, one state that is just part of that Western Nigeria, has 4 ministers, while the entirety of Eastern Southeast also has 5 ministers. I mean, is that equitable? And so if we don't talk, then people will say, oh, they are keeping quiet because he is their man. No, on the basis of ideology and on the basis of the traditions that we follow in projecting good governance, including appointments into offices, I think what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing is absolutely wrong. And I'm happy that even in that piece written in Vanguard by Ugoji, he also noted there that the Yorubas are ordinarily not like that, and that he does not, and that he even said that he does not believe that what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing right now is representative of the political thinking of Yorubas that understand politics very well. Because we are for good governance. It is not which means even if your son is stealing, oh, is my son, cover him up. No, not Afenifere. If our son is doing what is wrong, we will call him to order. So that in future, when we call other people's children to order, they will say, oh, that's the way they did even for their own son.
All right. Very good enough. But I also ask you that question. You said there is the Afenifere of the socio-political group, that is the socio-political group, and there is the one that is social-cultural group. So which one is the social-cultural group, and who heads that particular Afenifere?
Well, the socio-political group has had an apostolic succession. That is what I call it. You know, I'm a priest, and ordained priest, and in priesthood we also have apostolic succession. How from Peter, the original Peter of the early church, one of the original apostles, ordained, and those ordinations have come all the way. My being ordained by my own bishop is part of that succession, because that my bishop was also ordained through that succession. And so in the Afenifere too, Obafemi Awolowo was the original leader. I may not get the sequence very clearly now, but I remember there was a time that Papa Ajashin became leader. And after Papa Ajashin, I remember there was a time that Ibrahim Adesanya became leader, and we would all go to his place to go and have the meeting. That was when Bola Ige was deputy leader. And after Ibrahim Adesanya, I remember there was a time that Papa Fashoranti was leader, and Papa Fashoranti tendered his resignation, put it in writing. Papa Fashoranti is like my father. His children and myself were classmates in the secondary school. We are still the best of friends till tomorrow. But they know that when it comes to issues like this, it is about ideology. Okay? If I'm still traveling through Akure Airport, my vehicle will still sleep in Papa Fashoranti's house. But this is about ideology. And let us face it, that after Papa Fashoranti tendered his resignation, then Papa Adebayo Banjo became leader. But because some people were not happy with the ideological standing of Papa Adebanjo and believed that it should be an Omowani Ejekoshe matter, they went to go and wake up my old father, Papa Fashoranti, and say by force and by book, you must still be leader of Afenifere. And along the line, where they got it completely all wrong, and thank God they did it like that, they are describing themselves as socio-cultural, which makes you to understand that even these people have very shallow understanding of Afenifere. Afenifere that Obafemi Awolowo and his colleagues started didn't have anything to do only with Yorubas. It has to do with good governance, first amongst Yorubas and then amongst everybody. That anthem, which is now, it is the Osun State anthem, for instance, and I think all other, the development agenda for Western Nigeria got the governors of Western Nigeria to also adopt that anthem, which is the Afenifere anthem, which was originally composed by Obafemi Awolowo and was later, I've forgotten the name of the professor, Afolabi something, that interpreted it to Yoruba. But the English one is even the one that is more appropriate here. I mean, egalitarianism. Where is the egalitarianism? Egalitarianism means the way you were born is the way I was born. So the way the Northerner was born is the way this Igbo man and the Yoruba man. So if we were all born the same way, why do you think it is only the Yorubas that will occupy that position? That is against egalitarianism. And we also sing as part of that song, Up, Up, Nigeria. So why didn't we say Up, Up, Yoruba land? So Obafemi Awolowo knew that this was about good governance. And if you remembered, many of those people that supported Obafemi Awolowo were not necessarily Yorubas. He had, amongst his most ardent financiers was Pa Alfred Rewane. What is the Oriki, or where is the Agbole of Pa Alfred Rewane? I mean, we all, and so there are so many situations like that that will let you know that let those socio-cultural people be. When we are discussing politics, please relate to the socio-political organization Afenifere under the leadership of Pa Ayo Adebanjo, the deputy leadership of Kabiyesi Obadipo Olaitan.
Okay, we are out of time, but then I would not let you go without asking you, architect, what does Afenifere have against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Afenifere has something against bad governance. It is not against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If Bola Ahmed Tinubu begins to do what is right for Nigeria today, you will see the way Afenifere is going to carry him like anything. So
are you saying that this administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is bad?
I have made that clear. I struggled before I could find something good
also in that,
coming out.
Even
his emergence is bad. So let him now at least use the principle of that The Prince by Machiavelli. Let him let a good end of good governance from his administration to some extent at least justify the wrong means by which he got there.
You know, Afenifere in that statement that was released in reaction to the column by Dr. Goke said that in the fourth point, said that Afenifere has clear-cut principles of being social democrats and not autocratic leaders, and not neoliberal economics. So what President Tinubu government is doing politically and economically is not in the name and support of Afenifere and Yoruba people.
I'm glad you have it there. You know, I referred to it. I'm glad you just read it out for everybody to hear.
Yeah, so
that man understands what the original Afenifere, the socio-political organization, stands for.
Is this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government autocratic?
Well, if you will not allow people to demonstrate and a government before you clamped them into detention, and now you have the ability to release them and you are not doing something about it, Evelyn, what is that?
Well, you can answer the question.
Well,
all right. Before we go, lastly, for you, architect Goke Omigbodun, what do you think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be doing right now as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that will make people see him as a Democrat that he has been touted to be over the years?
Well, there are two things he should do. One on the short run, the other on the long run. On the short run, and you'll be shocked, I'm going to praise the 9th Assembly under President Muhammadu Buhari for a number of constitutional amendments that went more in the direction of restructuring and allowing the states, the federating units, to have more powers ceded to them. That's why now states can generate, distribute, and transmit electricity. That's why you have those rail lines, the blue one, blue line, red line in Lagos, which was not so before. So I would like on the short run that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should initiate a number of constitutional amendments that would let there be devolution of more powers to the states as federating units, so that more and more things can be done at the state level, so that it won't be federal power against any governor that is not listening to us. Let's knock his head. And then on the long run, there should be a proper restructuring of the polity, which will be like a bigger dimension of that short run thing. How he may be able to do that, maybe they are just going to convoke another national, ethnic national conference, or rely on the reports of past ones and take them to the National Assembly and let the National Assembly pass them, because you cannot have a complete vacuum. So that at the end of the day, we will have a Nigerian federation, truly federalist in approach, having, by the time they tinkle with that constitution or come up with a brand new one, being so similar to that of the Oliver Little Constitution of 1954, that gave enough powers to the federating units for them to be able to compete in a healthy way. That competition was what led to the Ahmadu Bello University, being the first university to be established by a federating unit. And there was that struggle now between Western Nigeria and Eastern Nigeria. And guess what? Even Eastern Nigeria beat Western Nigeria to it. So the University of Ife then became the third university to be established by a federating unit. Well, don't forget the fact that there was already the University of Ibadan, which the premier university, which was for everybody. It was that competition, that spirit of competition, that will make Obafemi Awolowo have the first television station in Africa, ahead of Poland, ahead of a number of other European countries. It's not true that we got it before France anyway, because France got its own in 1939. But we got it ahead of so many other European countries. That was the competition. That was what true federalism brought. It was with that kind of thing that we could have free education. And Western Nigeria could pay a minimum wage higher than that of the federal government. Western Nigeria was paying £100 minimum wage, while federal government was paying, I think, 85. And the other regions, I think the only other region that could pay 85 was Midwestern region, which was also akin to Western Nigeria. So we should go back to the days. And Northern Nigeria was only able to pay £60 per annum. And so the best brains were coming to Western Nigeria. So let us go back to that. So that is the ultimate thing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should work on. A constitution that will reflect true federalism and devolve powers to the federating units. All
right, of course, that is what most Nigerians want. Most Nigerians want.
So why isn't our president doing it if that is what most Nigerians want?
No, I mean, what they want is, a good lifestyle. People want to be able to check their pocket and be able to buy things easily.
So why isn't President Bola Ahmed Tinubu doing that?
Architect, you have to pose that question to the president, not to me. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you in our studios, Architect Goke Omigbodun, who is a public affairs analyst and a politician, and also sits as a member of the National Caucus of Afenifere. Thank you so much for coming to our studios. Thank you for your thoughts, your submissions, and your analysis this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, people, that's the show this morning. We make a return for Morning Spring tomorrow. Of course, Femi Ojo will be back then. I know you must have missed him. I did also. But my name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Stay tuned for Spring Trends coming right after this broadcast.